Yo, yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the RF Deal Desk, live in full effect. We're gonna go over here. You guys know the deal. You guys have the comments over there. We are open, we are live, and we already got a bunch of people in here. So we're gonna review a deal that sadly is gonna be a dead deal for us. However, it did match all the indicators that we would have gone for. You know, it's a probate. It had a mortgage on it that was delinquent or about to go delinquent, better said. Multiple heir situation. The seller's a very nice guy, Wayne, and, you know, been talking for a couple weeks. And anyway, we got to the end of the road, and it looks like there's not, because there's a solar lien on the house, which was really difficult to find, by the way. But I think my acquisition guy did a great job at uncovering that information, which is, guys, this is very important, why you got to ask the right questions when you're on the phone with sellers, heirs, etc. You got to get as much info as you can so you don't ride the emotional roller coaster of going through this lead, etc. So here's the lead right here. Is our RF Deal Finder app. The lead is 4915 Tulip Drive. It's a beautiful address. Pensacola, Florida, which is up in the Panhandle, basically Alabama. Right? So you got absentee owner, high equity, deceased probate. These would have been your triggers, all right, on the list if you were building one, okay? The lady, this is another indicator right here, right? If you would have seen that in the property appraiser, you would say, oh, hold up a second. Somebody's deceased, right? Estate of, EST of. Anytime you see EST of or estate of or HE even or LE, life estate, right? Somebody is probably deceased. Also, another ninja one is REM, which stands for remainderment, okay? That also can be out of a life estate, all right? So let's break this down here. We have the probate, right, that's been filed. We already know that. This probate was actually closed on Monday, all right? Braxton Donna. There's a bunch of different people named. The decedent is Peggy Braxton, okay? So we also see a Rocket Mortgage. It's a great rate, like phenomenal rate, 3.11, right? So if I was looking at this from not just a reverse flip angle, but a sub 2 angle, right? I would say, oh, well, you got a very, very, very good rate, 3.11. On $112,000, that payment is going to be very, very low, probably 800 and some change, right? So now the next question would become, you know, what can I rent it out for, etc. Now this lady's deceased, so anyway, I'm not looking to keep, first of all, I'm not looking to keep something in this area. It's a little rural. It's Pensacola. It's definitely not my market. Second of all, the lady's deceased. I'm not looking to keep a deceased person's loan open. Just not something I like. But we're going to go through it, okay? So from an equity perspective, that's always the first thing that we want to solve. So what do we have? We have the right triggers. We know what's going on, right? Lady's deceased. There's a probate open. There's some equity, right? There's positive equity. It says absentee, obviously, unfortunately, not to laugh, but because the lady's deceased. So we have all those things. The next thing we're going to go into is there equity in the deal? Now, we don't know the full story yet, but we do know that she took out a mortgage for $112,000 in 2022, assuming she made all her payments, right, for the last 3 years or so, because she passed away 6 months ago, I think. That loan, because loans are very heavy on the first like 5-10 years, loans are extremely heavy on interest. So that loan is probably going to be at best 105, 108, right? So let's just call it 110. She has missed some payments, so let's call it 115, okay, with attorney's fees and all the BS and all that. So you guys follow me so far, right? I don't see any comments yet, but so far, 115 is what is owed on this house. So naturally, we're going to come over here and we're going to see what the comps are. There's nothing really close to where this house is, which I don't like. These are the closest things. This is a little too far for me already. I don't know this area very well, but I don't want to be that far off, right? So I'm going to look. This is active. This is 248. This is the only closed sale, right? Which is for the only closed sales over here. This is a little bit too far for my taste, right? So hers is a 3.2, 1,200 square feet. Right off the bat, I could just tell you that I think the ARV is probably like 185. Okay, you guys tell me what you think, but I think the ARV is clear 185. We want to make sure we're not looking at new construction. You see, you have some here, 2025, 2020. We're not going to count those. Okay, so also very important. Some of these are much larger, right? Ours is 1224. These are 1600. This is 1500. This is 1800. So yeah, I feel pretty comfortable, excuse me, popping in a value of about 190. All right. So do we have equity? Well, yes, right? So far, let's say the ARV is 190 minus 115. We got about 75K of equity. Now, obviously, the seller's got to get something, right? The heirs. So you got 115, okay? Minus 190, that's 75K. But we got another issue here. And we heard the seller say, hey, there's a solar lien. Now, this is where I'm going to show you guys how you would find a solar lien, okay? There's really a few ways. So the first spot I'm going to go to is the official records or the clerk of courts, okay? This could happen in any county, by the way. Her name is Peggy Braxton. So we're going to go for Braxton Peggy. It's usually last name first. Bam, here we go. And we're gonna filter by the newest to oldest. So the last thing that was filed was 2014. Obviously, not her. Okay, so there's nothing here because the solar liens were taken out like in the last 3 years. That's what the seller said, the heir. So we know that it cannot be the ones from 2014, right? All that kind of stuff. There's quitclaim deeds over here. So it's nothing to do with us, right? Now, I just want to make sure that we got the right name. Hold on. Peggy E. Braxton. So, yeah, it's definitely the right person. You can see her here, Peggy E. Braxton. Cool. So the next thing we're going to do, this is Escambia County. We're going to go to the civil case search, right? And, oops, it's the wrong one. Let's look here. Court records. Now we're going to look up the probate. See what the hell's going on. All right, so we're going to look up Braxton. All right. Braxton Peggy. And 96 plus 6 is 102. Almost had that. 102. So here is your probates. All right. Well, a probate. CP. Again, that's just circuit probate. It's usually what it stands for. This over here, I don't really know what this is about, but I don't really care. It's just 2001. Then you have something over here. Let's look at the first one, which is 2023. This looks like what? Lack of prosecution. I don't know what that is, but it's Earl Barry Dixon. Unlawful detainer. So this is a good one. So an unlawful detainer is a type of eviction. Okay. An unlawful detainer is, hey, somebody had permission to be in the house. They no longer have permission to be in the house. They do not have a lease. You file an unlawful detainer. An ejectment is a squatter. All right. They never had permission. Get them out. An eviction is, hey, somebody had permission. They had a lease. Now they violated their lease or they've missed payments. Boom. That's an eviction. Okay. So that is a master class in different types of evictions. So again, this doesn't really matter to me. I don't really care because they dismissed it. Doesn't really make any difference for me. So we're going to go back to the probate. A lot of probate docs are not available online. It's just the way that it works. So we're going to view the case. Here it is. Case closed. This is 2025. This was from the Federal Credit Union. Let's see what happened here. Okay, so this is a caveat case, which is in addition to. So let's look at this one. Here we go. Estates less than $1,000. Boom, there's your probate. So it's pretty far along, but it's actually done now, right? They filed this March of last year. Jesus, that should have not taken that long. And look, my birthday, 2/23. So the status change date. They did close it out. Order of summary administration. Unfortunately, Escambia County does not give me access unless I'm an attorney. So I know that it's done though. All right. Now, here's the story with this. I've gone and I've talked. The first person I spoke to who was the lead that came in was Wayne. Wayne was her brother. She, unfortunately, Peggy passed away. Peggy had her son, or excuse me, her daughter, who is legally blind, living inside the property with another family member. And then there's a couple other heirs that were Peggy's kids and another distant relative, which Wayne explained this all to me and me asking him questions, etc. So basically, all these people needed to sign. He made contact with everybody. Everybody was ready to sell. Everybody was ready to sign. So that's great. From the legal side, we got a check mark, right? We're good. But the problem is that Wayne mentions that there was solar panel liens on the house. Now, how the hell do we find solar panel liens? So like I said, we were in the official record search. We can't find anything, right? They don't always file them. The next place I would look at is the Escambia property appraiser. And we're going to go over here. And that is also the wrong side. Hold on. Tax assessor. Nope, that's Alabama. See how close it is to Alabama. Online record search. Property tax record search, excuse me. Now we look at property taxes. And why am I looking at the property taxes? Number one, to see that if they're delinquent or not, which they shouldn't be because there's an open mortgage. Number two, a lot of the times when the solar panel companies put solar panels in, they attach them to the property taxes, right? Yearly, which basically just means that they finance them 100%, right? And they put them on the property taxes. So people don't really notice it. Their taxes just become more expensive every single year, and then they pay them down over like a 15-year period, 20-year period, 30-year period, etc. So that's what I want to find out, and we'll see how this goes. We're going to go Braxton Peggy. Let's see this one. Yup, in care of. See that? It says in care of Wayne, which is her brother. So here's your taxes. This is another little nugget for you here. How do I know when somebody passed away? Well, in Florida, they lose homestead exemption. There's a lot of states that have that. So for example, that means that your homestead exemption means that your property taxes are cheaper. So if I see that every single year was like high 600s, high 700, low 700, the last bill in 2024 was 720, and then boom, 2025, it jumps to 2076, that means that the person is more than likely deceased because they lost their homestead penalty. Or they lost their homestead exemption, which actually is the case because Peggy passed away in 2025. How do we know that? Well, bam, here it is, right? We have her death certificate. Everything's here. So they did lose it. So I would automatically know, like, okay, this lady passed away less than 2 years ago. Why is that important information for me in Florida? Because it'll largely dictate what type of probate I'm going to do. For example, if they're dead for less than 2 years, that's going to be a formal administration, which is just a much larger probate, a lot more pain in the ass, and it takes longer because there's a creditor period. She is dead for under 2 years, so that's the type of probate that they did, a formal. If she was dead for more than 2 years, then that would mean that it would be a summary administration, would mean a very fast probate, okay? So here we go. I see somebody, Thomas Puerto Rico, both named co-PRs. Patricia filed to BPR because she says Egerton cannot be located PHH. Yep, that's the only comment I see come in, brother. So I don't know. That looks like there was more to that message. So send me the difference there or whatever it was so I can see what you're talking about, please. I don't fully understand. So here's the property taxes, right? So here's a copy of the bill. You're going to look right here in the ad valorem and non-ad valorem, okay? There's nothing, it would say something like Pace Loan or Y Green or something like that, and it would be attached here, and then I could see what the payments are, and let's say it's 30 years, I would calculate them out and be like, oh shit, $2,000 over 30 years, with interest and everything, well, she probably owes somewhere around 50 grand, right? You guys follow me there? So in this case, it's not here. So what do I do next? Well, solar liens always, not say always, almost always file UCC liens. Okay, a UCC is a uniform code something, and basically that's at the state level. So I'm gonna look up Florida UCC, right? So when I search the UCC, I'm gonna put individual debtor name, and I'm gonna put, I had already done it, I'm gonna put Peggy Braxton. Bing, bingo, there she is. So she got she got this solar panel in 2021. You guys see that? So now we've confirmed, okay, there are solar liens on here. Another easy way to do this too, guys, to know, obviously, would have been to grab the address, and I would have grabbed this and said, ooh, Pensacola, Florida, right? And I would go to the Google Maps and look at that. Bingo. There's some solar panels. You guys see that? So this tracks with this, okay? And obviously you could go to the satellite image too. So you see she's not like in a super rural area, but it's pretty damn rural. Look at the size of that system, okay? I have a guy that works for me, and he used to do solar panel installations. He's like, dude, the size of solar panels like this is probably at least a $30,000 job. So let's go back to the UCC. I look up the document. I get the document. Here is the document, okay? Now we know, we're going to expand this a little bit. Now we know the UCC lien. Bam's right here. Tulip Drive. We know it. Who was the person who did the loan? And it's, hold on. Lost it. Technology Credit Union. Bingo. I don't know who the hell that is. But after some Google searches, Technology Credit Union. Solar. Whatever that is. So here's Technology Credit Union. So they're a solar lien company. So that tracks for me, right? Again, I'm using common sense, guys, right? So now we know that there's a UCC lien. Unfortunately, what we don't know is the freaking amount of the lien, which now Mr. Wayne is going to get us that amount. But guys, I could tell you right now that the ARV being 190, even though the house is in pretty decent shape, so I think it can be sold to a finance buyer. Let's say I can get 190, and let's say I give the heirs total 15 grand, right? Minus 115 for the loan, minus 30,000, let's assume, for the solar liens. That is about as much as I can pay for that house to make 30 grand. This would be more like a novation, by the way. So to sell it to a finance buyer. On a cash buyer, for sure, I'm out. Why? You're probably looking at, I would say 80% of ARV minus whatever repairs they're going to need to do. Let's say it's light and let's say it's light. Jesus. Let's say it's light, and let's say they only are going to put in 20 grand, right? Minus 15,000 for the heirs. Minus, we got to make some money, right? At least 25K. You're already 92 grand. We're done, right? Why? Because the mortgage alone is 115. So this deal for me does not pencil, unfortunately. And, there's nothing we could really do with this deal. Does anybody have any questions on this? After Abraham's comes both named co-PRs. Thomas, I totally get you, brother. But unfortunately, I don't have an address. And it's still, the only two comments I have are those. Cannot be located at PHH, filed foreclosure. I just don't know what you want me to do with that information. I want to help, and I want to be able to, do anything. But I don't know. I don't know what to do with it. So, does anybody have another deal that they want to review? This is live and live in color. If not, I think we're going to cut it there because this was a really great example. This is a deal that does not pencil, unfortunately. It did meet all the other angles and all the other triggers. It was a inherited, or excuse me, it was an inherited deal. Had some equity, absentee owner, right? It was about to go into foreclosure, and it met all of those things, especially being a probate deal. Unfortunately, the solar lien kind of killed this deal. If the solar lien wasn't there at 115 and giving the sellers maybe 10, 15 grand, maybe we could make something work, right? Selling it out at 190. There's an ovation play there to make 40 G's. It's pretty doable, but unfortunately, there's not a lot there to be able to do. Now I see an address coming in, brother. I see 15340 North. Keep in mind, guys, with YouTube, when you guys put in your comments, if there's addresses and stuff like that, sometimes it just automatically boots them out, which sucks and is annoying. They just don't like private information being shared, even though addresses are public information. I just need the rest of the address, bro. We're almost there. You almost got it. I got 15340 Northeast. But there could be a lot of different ways we go on that one. It could be Northeast 14th Ave, 13th Ave. I'm not sure, so I need the rest of it. Said both named co-PRs. Patricia filed to be the PR because she says Egerton cannot be located. PHH filed foreclosure right after probate opened. It's a 2008 FHA reverse mortgage. HECM, yeah. HECM largely is reverse mortgages, guys. After Abraham's, both named co-PRs. Northeast 12th. There we go. All right. 12th Ave right here. Bam! I think I got you. Is this Gillith Bulea? I don't know if I'm saying that right. It does look like a reverse mortgage, so 375 from 2008. Confirm if that's right. It's right here. All right, so my man already gave me a lot of info. There's a lien release here. Voluntary dismissal and release of list pendants. So there was a foreclosure, which was released. You know what we're going to do, guys. We're going to take this and we're going to go in to the Miami-Dade Civil Case Research. And it's a 2023 case, so we're going to pull up the foreclosure case. It's always CA in Florida, which is Circuit Civil. And bam, here we go. Judgment. This is a fairly, here's the complaint. Buila? That's hard. 2008. Okay. This is going to tell you a lot of what's happening, guys. As of April 18, 2023, the plaintiff is owed $193 plus interest and fees. In order to present the plaintiff, blah, blah, blah. Plaintiff, or the property is now owned by Gillith. Is now vested in Julia Gillith. Their precedent to the acceleration of this note to foreclose the mortgage to have been fulfilled and occurred is obligated to pay its attorney's fees. Plaintiff alleges that the claims. Here we go. So they told you exactly why. Boom, beam, bam. They hit you with the foreclosure. Oh, wait. 375. That was back in the day. Now, what happened to this foreclosure case? E-summons 20-day issued. Jesus. These people really. Final disposition document. Let's see what the hell happened here. Voluntary dismissal. So they dismissed this. Now, let's look up a probate here. Let me exit out all this other stuff. All right, let's look up Miami-Dade. Property appraiser. We're going to grab this. Last deed was 1978. Cool. It's a great area, by the way. Thomas, are you watching this? Are you able to see this? Just following through here. All right. And we're gonna go and look up a actually, I'm already there. Oops. Let's go over here and let's look up the foreclosure. Or excuse me, the probate. Sorry. Blah. Gillith. Was that right? Gilleth. Right. No probate was found, but I may have, stand by, because I may, there's a high chance that I have, excuse me, I have this backwards. Bam. Okay, so I had the names backwards. So here's your probate case. Yay. Formal administration, so that already tells you, right, the type of probate it is. There's summary and formal, right? Let me log in here so I can view all these docs. Boom. Docket. Now I have info. Affidavit of heirs. This one's very important. You want to see who the heirs are. Okay. My name is Patricia Taylor. Who is that? Daughter of the decedent. Bingo. So she's filing it. Here is the name and address. Address unknown, Patricia Taylor. Egerton. So nobody could find Egerton. Patricia is the only one that pops up here. Okay. Cool. Let's look at the petition for administration. There's two beneficiaries, Egerton and Patricia. Boom, 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 boom. Petitioner not convey that. Okay, homestead property. Here's her last will and testament. So you can tell. I give, devise, and bequeath my entire estate. That's normal language. To my two beloved children, Egerton and Patricia, to be divided equally between them. So they get 50-50. You guys see that? I hereby nominate my two children as co-personal representatives. By the way, fun fact for you, I'm not an attorney, but listen to me. From a legal perspective, this sucks for the children. You never want to name two co-representatives. There should only be one, because if there's disputes, very difficult to solve them other than through lawsuits. Okay, so you always want to name one. But anyway, that's besides the point. So here's her testarix and everything. All right, cool. So they get everything equally, whatever everything is. The problem is, man, this house is probably going to owe something very close to $375. Obviously, this house is worth a lot more than $375. There's no question, because of the area that it's in. So I would say that this house is a big house too. 4.3. Yeah, it's folio 07, by the way. So this just means that it has reoccupancy. This is North Miami Beach. Sucks for reoccupancy. Sucks for permitting. Very difficult. So what reoccupancy is, for those of you in South Florida, is basically the legal bed and bath count that is on the city records has to match what is physically inside the property. So it's very common in Miami that you had a 3-bed, 1-bath that was converted to a 4.2 or a 3.2 illegally, not with permits. Now you got a problem because the buyer's going to fail out of the REOC certificate. Okay? So, nonetheless, let's keep going. Let's assume that what's owed on this house is going to be like $400. It's probably right. The question is, what is the ARV of this house? Now, you got one here, 4.2, 1,600 square feet, right around the same thing. I would say this is a pretty good one. This is a great comp. Okay, here you go. Bingo. This is your comp. Not a full reno, but pretty cute. This was sold, and it sold $500,000. Somebody else bought this for $380,000. Ooh. And that, yeah, that's nice. They paid 380, which is basically where I would want to be. At 500, yeah, that's probably where you're probably going to want to be 350 to 370, bro, somewhere around there. So if you have any direct questions, let me know. But that's what I would pay for this house. Assuming, again, I'm assuming, do you have a payoff for the mortgage? I don't know. Let's assume that what was owed on the mortgage was 400. It would already be too high because I think your comps here are going to be that 500 mark. You see things above that sitting. Don't really have any other, these comps at 700 and 800 are way too big and just not comps at all. So you see here, this guy is sitting at 840. Bless his heart. He will never get that, but that's neither here nor there. 500, you got 530 pending. Here's another one, very similar build. Yeah, so this is fairly the same, right? Yeah, so I think the ARV of this house is 5, maybe 515, something like that. If you owe 400, if what's owed is 400, it's a no dice scenario on that one. But great area, Again, if the payoff came back at like 350, you are in. I think you can sell this for like 380. 370 to 390, something like that, depending on the condition. I'm going to safely assume that the condition is going to be pretty rough, considering that it's a reverse mortgage. They usually are. And here's your house. It is a nice corner lot, though. Oops. And guys, you see here, right? You can tell that this is a distressed home. Why? The windows are old. The roof looks a little dated. The grass is overgrown, right? The gate looks distressed. There's no central AC that I could see of any kind, right? So again, I always say this, when I go to virtually drive for dollars, I should see some kind of physical distress to match the behind the scenes distress, if that makes sense. Now, I don't know if this is a legal addition or illegal addition. It might be a porch, with a little flat roof. I mean, that's possible too, but that's what I'm looking at here, okay? It's very interesting because this thing, hold up a second. Actually, this is the house. My bad. This is the house right here. So it wasn't this one, even though this one looks pretty rough. But this is the house. That's your house. It looks even better. Like there's definitely, but again, my fear would be it looks like there's some illegal additions here. I mean, it's just a weird. The roof slants down. There's a lot of flat roofs. The front door is at a weird angle. It shouldn't be. There looks like two separate entrances, one here, one here. Usually very indicative of like an efficiency or some sort of an illegal unit being rented. Yeah, but that's your house right there. That's the one. Let me see if I could drop the little Google guy. There he is. Beep. That's your house. Why does it keep sending me to another house? Hold up a second here, dude. Freaking Google today, huh? Hold on. What is the address? Here we go. That is not the address. Hold on. Oh, Google. You're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. All right, so here we go. Let's try that again. Here is your house. Bingo. This is the one. Now we're going to drop this little Google man right here. Bingo. That's your house. That looks like a reverse mortgage house to me. 100%. See that? Bars around the window, awnings, old ass windows. The roof looks okay. Electrical looks okay. It looks a little dated. There's, coverings on all the windows. More awnings. See, this looks dated. I don't see any. Oh, yeah, there's a central AC. House looks like it needs to be painted right. It just looks like an old house, right? It looks like an old person that took out a reverse mortgage. That's exactly what it looks like. So this is a great lead. If you could get it for 350, Thomas, like meaning all in, the air is probably going to get close to nothing, like a couple grand, if that, on the back end. But if you could get this for 350, you could definitely sell this for 380, 370 all day long. Another thing I would look at is the official records And I would look for liens and violations. Let me see if I can find anything. We know now that her last name is Gillith. Okay. So, Gillith. And I don't even know how to pronounce this first name, but I'm going to take my best shot here. We're going to search by date. Bingo. List pendants. So, that's the one that we found. That was recently filed, too. So, it was actually, hold up a second, because that's new information. Hold up. That's a new case. So the old case was dismissed, but now we got a new case. Let's go back to the civil records. Local 2026. Bingo, CA. Here we go. Bam, that's the one. That's the one that we want. Let me make sure it's the right parties. Yup, the state of. Yup. Who is this? Jennifer Taylor Lagan. I wonder who the hell that is. All right, let me. Complaint. Here we go. See what's what. Yeah, so as of. Here you go. Dude, I think you got a good deal here. This makes sense. So as of January 27th, plaintiff owes $208. Now you got to add in interest and fees there. So I would probably add in at least like 150 grand there. But I think you got a good deal here. There's a high chance here. So again, I would still stand by my logic. You got to pick this thing up for like 340, 350 to sell it out at 370 to 390 cash. If you could get that information and you want to JV this deal, I'm game. I'm all in. If you want to do that, Thomas, I hope this was helpful. Guys, really appreciate you. I love this. This is the 4th time that we break the attendance record. So I love that. I really appreciate it. You have the link there to submit your deals to get them live deal reviewed. Thomas, hit me up if you want to JV on this deal. I will see you guys tomorrow, 5 to 6. Deal Desk live. Appreciate you guys. Take care.